second one is the level of demand you have, which is quite intense in both cases. So, do you know why you have those things?
Do you know what we mean by those things?
Huh? Can you feel how many of you are sort of in a bit of a panic about divine truth? Can you notice that? Like, you sort of worry, once you start listening to it, you start realizing there's personal things to do. You sort of get into a bit of a panic about, there's so many things I've got to do, and how do I do this, and how do I do that, and the panic, and what I noticed, and particularly this is the case in the States actually, when you're in a state of panic, which is really unfelt fear, isn't it? Is what it is, unfelt fear. What happens is you'll have a lot of those demands that people make your panic go away, right? And our purpose for visiting you isn't to make your panic go away, it's to help you feel your panic as fear rather than making it go away. So we're not.
So it's a panic room we're in.
Yeah, we're not.
You're in a panic room.
Yeah. You're not in a. When you're in a panic, you're in a state of not feeling fear, but acting upon it. So what you do then is you start having high levels of demand, and the high levels of demand then get projected outward from yourself because you don't want to feel what's going on inside yourself. Does that make sense? And that's actually a spiritual sin to that. The reason why it is because your soul has been created to have feelings pass through it. And every time you lock up a feeling, and when you have fear, that is a feeling that you lock up inside of yourself. You are now in a state where you're not letting feelings pass through your soul. And that is damaging to your own soul. But in that state, you enter this state of panic, and then you start projecting outwards. In other words, you start acting in your panic, in demand, and that is a natural sin that you're now committing towards other people. And that then has the potential of damaging other people, because when you're in a demand with a person, they are more likely going to give up their free will to satisfy your demand. And so when you have a demand, you are actually trying to have other people give up their will for the sake of yours. Right? And so this is a fundamental demonstration of inequality, where you feel that your emotion is more important than their life, and that they should compensate for your emotion. So many of you have got that going on in the group towards Mary and I, where you want us to make your panic go away. But we don't want to make your panic go away. What we want to do is help you feel your fear so you make your panic go away. Does that make sense? And so this issue of panic is a big issue, which is really, like I said, unfelt fear, or you could say it another way, couldn't you? It's the justification of anger and therefore demand. Yeah. Right? Because remember we said yesterday that unfelt fear is really false expectations. Having an expectation that is unfulfilled then means that you are going to have an angry demand upon somebody else to sort of make your fear go away or pacify you. Yeah. You want people to give you a dummy. But, you know, what do you call them here? A pacifier. You know, we're like little children when we're in this state where we just want a pacifier. Yeah? And we don't want to turn you into little children who have pacifiers. In Australia, we call them dummies, which is exactly what's going to happen to you if you become dumb, you know, like, you become unable to be able to cope with your own life. Yeah. So obviously there's a need to deal with this panic or this unfelt fear rather than project it outwards from yourself as a demand. Right? People do not have to make your fears go away. And also, many of you believe that is true, that people should make your fears go away, and many of you feel that's an act of love. All right? So you sort of expect somebody who teaches you to make your fears go away. And you think that that is an act of love on their part. But it's not actually an act of love. It's to have your fears go away, you're the ones who, in your own soul, your fear exists, right? And to have it go away, you're going to have to feel it, right? And nobody else can feel it for you. So the expectation that somebody else feels it for you is also a false belief that somebody else can do that. Because it's actually impossible for somebody else to feel your fears for you. You're the person who needs to feel them. And only when you feel them and experience them completely will they go away. Right? So fear is a tricky emotion, and for most people, it's the worst emotion that they face. And for that reason, they, instead of feeling their fear, they revert to the demand. That make sense? Yeah.
Could I think of the demand as a projection?
It is.
Yep.
It's an expectation, isn't it?
You
Upon
make
another.
me feel better.
You give me something. You make me feel better. You calm me down.
Yep.
You tell me something that's going to make me feel like I'm okay. You know, that kind of thing. And the problem with projecting that at a teacher who is in the spirit world, when you arrive there, is none of them will respond to you. So you'll end up even more alone. Right? So you've got to get out of this demand. If you want to learn, you've got to get out of the demand, and that means going back to the cause of it, which is related to the desire inside to avoid your own fears and avoid your own doubts. Does that make sense? So many of you have doubts about God, doubts about truth, doubts about love even. Most of you have had bad experiences with love, yes? Where you've loved somebody and been rejected, or in your childhood, people said they love you but belted you. You know, you've had bad experiences with what is called love on earth. And so then your idea of love gets changed into this sort of thing that I'm allowed to demand things of others, and if they give me what I demand, then they love me. But you've got to remember that love is a gift, and if somebody demands it, the giver should not give it. So the more demanding you become, the less I should give you, if I'm living in harmony with God's principles. Does that make sense? Yes. So the more demanding you come today, the less you're going to get today. You follow? In harmony with that principle. Yeah. So that's that one. Let's deal with this other one.